Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So I just got done watching this video that we'll see shortly of vegan activist Earthling Ed on the BBC. Hey, big thumbs up, big props to Earthling Ed, getting some great publicity there.
With us is a vegan activist and campaigner, Ed Winters. Hello to you, Ed. He's written a book called This is Vegan Propaganda. He's better known as Earthling Ed.
And the reason why I'm making the video is not about Earthling Ed's performance. He did a wonderful job, but the BBC was completely unfair to him. First of all, it was Earthling Ed versus like everyone on the set, like 4 or 5 people, even some call-in guests, completely outnumbered. But the primary reason why I'm making this video was how frustrating it was. I just want to jump through to the TV set and yell at these BBC people like, why are you not answering his questions? He's posing moral questions about veganism to the BBC people on stage there, and it's just going right past them. They refuse to directly answer his questions and instead change the subject to something else that's not about veganism. Let's see.
Ed, would you like to try and persuade Jenny, for example, who loves her pie shop in Darlington?
Absolutely. I mean, Jenny, the question that we have to ask ourselves is what's higher value, sensory pleasure, the enjoyment we get from eating these animal products, or the lives of these sentient beings?
Honestly, I don't know how Ed could have made it even more clear than that. On one hand, you have sensory taste pleasure. On the other hand, you have the lives of sentient beings.
Because when we say that we are allowed to do what we do to animals because we enjoy how they taste, we're saying that the 15 minutes or so of sensory pleasure that we get from consuming them has higher value and is worth more than their entire existence. Because of course, when we eat animal products, including dairy and eggs, an animal's autonomy has been denied to them. They've been exploited throughout their entire life, and they all end up in a slaughterhouse where they're put in a gas chamber or have their throat cut.
All right,
so that's the question.
Jenny?
Right, nice elaboration there, Ed. Let's see what Jenny says.
Are you persuaded?
I mean, I'm not.
Persuasion? This is not a question of persuasion. Ed asked a very simple, clear question. Which do you value more? Sensory taste pleasure or lives of sentient beings? You pick one or the other. If you don't, then you're evading the question. Let's see what she does.
I'm not anti-vegan. I enjoy vegan food.
I always have to chuckle when someone says they eat vegan food. Like, of course you do. You don't eat potatoes and carrots and rice and beans and fruits. Of course you eat vegan food.
But I enjoy other things too.
What are these mysterious other things? Perhaps dead animals?
I do agree, though, with what's been said about information, and I think that us having a better understanding of where our food comes from, I think the more food that is produced here in the UK that we eat, the better.
Okay, she's completely 100% not answering Ed's question whatsoever. Ed's question had nothing to do about where food comes from, if your dead animal was raised locally or shipped from far away. Notice how she's changing the question. She's not talking about veganism anymore.
What does have higher value, taste or life?
So big kudos for trying to get Jenny and the others here back to task answering the question about veganism. But as you'll see, they don't give a crap and they're going to talk about anything other than veganism.
Livelihoods. We have
but we can still protect livelihoods.
Sorry, Jenny,
but also the environment.
So hear all that. They want to talk about livelihoods. They want to talk about the environment. They want to talk about anything other than the question that the vegan activists brought to them about the morality of consuming animal products. That's what veganism is all about. But they don't want to talk about that. It's obvious that the BBS is completely disingenuous by bringing a vegan activist onto their program and refusing to engage in a discussion about veganism.
And there are, I think that we need to, if I had my way, most of what I ate would come from the region where I live.
Notice how Jenny's trying to turn this into a discussion about local foods. Like, that's awesome and stuff, but that's not what veganism is all about.
I want to eat locally. I want to eat high quality, nutritious food. And
how are those animals killed, Jenny?
Yes, Ed. Bring them back to a discussion about veganism rather than the politics of local versus long distance food production or something like what Jenny wants to get into. Yes, how are these animals shot? How is it more ethical to shoot an animal nearer to you?
I know how they're killed. You've done actually a fair... Well, I don't need to because you just have.
No, Jenny, I'd like you to tell me how they're killed.
You might like me to, but I think we all know.
Sadly, that short exchange that we just saw there was the closest Ed could get any of these BBC people to discuss the ethics, the morality of killing animals. He asked her, like, how do those animals get killed? And she wouldn't answer, just want to brush it under the rug. Yeah, I mean, we know what happens to them. Yeah.
What I want to do is eat a varied diet, and I'm not against anything that you're doing. All power to you.
Well, obviously, Jenny's completely against having an honest, open discussion about the morality of killing animals. Instead, she wants to talk about local food production.
That it's fair for others who maybe have a different ethical framework to you to make the choices that they want to make and to support their local food producers.
Can I?
All right, my mind is completely blown here. Jenny seems to be arguing. Correct me if I'm wrong down below, but she seems to be arguing because she used the word ethics here, that she's being ethical. She has an ethical, moral high ground because the animals she eats were killed nearby rather than from far away. Again, please, if someone can explain to me how it's more ethical to shoot someone like right next to you than from like 1,000 feet or 1,000 miles away, how that's more ethical, please explain it to me because it sounds completely delusional.
Because in terms of this assumption by many people that going vegan is a healthy and healthier option.
So now they want to talk about health. And I should have done this earlier in the episode. Let's look at the definition of veganism from the Vegan Society, which is from Great Britain as well here. And you'll see it makes absolutely zero mention about health. As we've been talking the entire time throughout this video, it's a moral, ethical stance against cruelty to animals, against exploiting animals. But now they want to talk about health.
We've done a little bit of research.
Oh, really? You've done your research? This ought to be entertaining.
And Ian Givens, Professor of Food Chain Nutrition, Director of Food at Reading University, he warns about the risks that come with cutting out meat and dairy without replacing the nutrients they provide. Do you accept it's not an easy option in terms of being able to have a balanced diet and actually could result in you damaging your health?
Even though I said a moment ago that veganism is an ethical, moral stance against animal cruelty and exploitation, as a vegan activist, you need to be well versed in the health aspects of veganism. I like to point out to people, though, that there's no necessity about going vegan and being healthy. If you want to, you can be a complete junk food vegan. That's your choice. I personally prefer to eat in a more healthy way, but Ed is well versed in the health aspects of veganism, and let's see how he reacts.
The word you use, which is really important, is replacing. So, of course, if we switch from animal products to plant products and don't replace the calcium and the iron that we get from the animal products, then we will have problems. But once we recognize where we can get iron and calcium and the nutrients that we need from plants, it's just as easy as making those swaps. So everyone who makes a change and everyone who eats, which is all of us, should be fundamentally aware of where we get our nutrients from, vegan or not.
Ed brings up an excellent contradiction in society here. If they hear, BBC hears that someone's vegan, they're all worried, they call up a nutritionist, they do the research, the nutritionist says all these horrible deficiencies, but say a meat eater just eats a bunch of junk fast food, does anyone really call them out for being nutritionally deficient in their crap diets?
But it's still absolutely possible, which has been confirmed by the British Dietetic Association, the NHS, who have all said that a plant-based diet can be healthy, which of course means making sure that we're eating all the nutrients that we need.
Indeed, and being here in the United States, I most often refer to the official position paper of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the largest group of health professionals in North America, and they say very clearly after reading and reviewing the scientific research that appropriately planned vegan diets are nutritionally adequate for all people in all stages of life. And again, I want to emphasize appropriately planned, not eating junk food or just eating raw food or something like that. Well-balanced, sensible vegan diets are nutritionally adequate. This is backed by science.
We live in a free society, so people must make their own decisions about what's best for them. But I do really take on Nick's point about our farming community, the livelihoods of people, and I think that
which can be made bigger, as Jenny was saying. Let's get more out there.
And locally home produced food is exactly what we should be doing. And
all right, this is going to be a horrible argument. Are you trying to say that if people eat more plants, it's horrible for the farming community? Plants are grown on farms?
Well, vegans support farmers and support farmers' livelihoods as well. But of course, what we need is a just and fair agricultural system that supports the planet, that supports us as humans. And the system that we have right now is doing the opposite. I mean, animal farming in the UK, for example, just animal farming uses 48% of the entire land mass.
And even though veganism is not an environmental movement per se, it does have environmental benefits. And again, as a vegan activist, you need to be aware of these environmental benefits, and Ed's dropping truth bombs on these guys.
So there's a big problem where farmers aren't stewarding the land in the way that they should. So we need a different agricultural system, but that doesn't mean that we just disregard the livelihoods of animal farmers. It means that we help them transition to plant-based farming or rewilding, and they become publicly funded land managers who are subsidized just as they are now to recreate nature rather than to continue to destroy it.
That's a great idea. I don't know if that's Ed's. At least I had never thought of that before. Yes, Ed's bringing up the brutal fact that animal agriculture is being subsidized with public funds through taxpayer money, and instead of using that money to fund animal agriculture, which is destroying the planet, let's use those funds to support public parks.
Publicly funded land managers, what the hell are they? Just put the bloke or woman on his or her tractor and let them go and feed the sheep or the cattle and take them to market. It's been known fine for centuries.
But it's not doing fine, Nick, is it? Because we know that animal agriculture is one of the leading drivers of climate change and results in the death and exploitation of billions of animals.
Not to be a judgmental vegan jerk here, but just looking at Nick here, I'm just kind of getting the vibe that he doesn't really give a crap about the causes and consequences of climate change, let alone the lives of billions of innocent animals.
It's the opposite of doing fine. We're warned time and time again by the UN, by the leading environmental organizations around the world that we need to change our system.
So even though veganism is not environmental, let's see if Nick here will address any of the valid points that Ed just raised there about the environmental problems of animal agriculture, or really just deflect and try to move on to another random topic.
Had you had powers, would you seek to restrict people eating meat? Were you to have powers?
No,
you would not. Okay.
I don't want to mandate things. I want to educate people to understand that there's a better, more ethical, more sustainable and healthier way ultimately
then you
that
must
we can
accept
farm and
people
use
have
our
other
land.
views.
Indeed. Ed, myself, most other vegan activists I know, we're not fascists. We're not trying to become dictator of the world and mandate that everyone become vegan. You can't. It's a moral decision that people must come to individually. You can't force a moral belief onto someone. So I'm glad that question got raised there, because I know a lot of anti-vegans just assume that we're all some kind of fascist authoritarians at heart or something like that. No, I firmly believe that people who are properly informed and are honest with themselves will see there is no better decision than to go vegan. It's a win for yourself, it's a win for the environment, and a win for the animals. I always like to pose this question to people. Why would you intentionally choose between given two options? One path where you necessitate animals being killed needlessly for you every meal. Animals are dying every meal, every day. Or you choose another path where animals are not being exploited and killed for your food, clothing, or any other purpose. And also knowing that on this non-animal killing path, you can sustain yourself and be a thriving, healthy person. It seems like a no-brainer. So this is what Ed and I are trying to do, to show people the complete rationality for going vegan and the complete irrationality for not going vegan. We can just win one mind at a time. So anyway, guys, leave your questions and comments down below. Let me know if you thought what I thought. If I didn't make it clear how just completely dumb the BBC was being here, not answering the questions about veganism, deflecting, changing to other topics that are not veganism. Again, why have a vegan activist on your show if you're not going to honestly engage that vegan activist on the topic that they came to discuss? Where he wasn't there to talk about local farming or anything like that. So many guys, hit like and please subscribe if you're new to our channel. Welcome any Earthling Ed fans. We're here doing the same kind of thing too. So anyway, guys, let's remain happy, healthy, and vegan.
Fall to the ground.